Let's talk about your abundance mindset advantage and how the highest performers throughout history have been able to maintain their success and their clarity, especially under pressure. Grab your cup of tea and let's dive into it. Between economic uncertainty, career instability, or even the comparison trap, you might find yourself falling into a scarcity as opposed to an abundance mindset. And especially at this time of the year, it's easy to feel like all of that optimism that you had for the year ahead can quickly start to fade as your everyday realities set in. So if you find yourself in a moment or a phase of self-doubt, an abundance mindset may actually be the thing that is going to help you to counteract some of those feelings so you can continue to move forward and progress in your life. And over 100 years on, the science has caught up to what one very popular book, Think and Grow Rich, knew. Let's start with point number one for your abundance advantage, and that is that wealth is created in the mind. This is something that Think and Grow Rich really highlights. It believes that achievements and riches earned are created in the mind first. It's an idea, and that idea is what leads to creating those riches. And this actually isn't just some novel woohoo concept. The book, if you aren't familiar with it, is actually grounded in 20 years of research prior to it being published. So the author Napoleon Hill was challenged by a steel magnate at the time, Andrew Carnegie, to research the people who had experienced the most success in that era and to distill down some of the common philosophies of their success. And what actually ensued from there is 500 interviews that form the basis of this book. And those interviews included conversations with people like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Rockefeller, and Theodore Roosevelt, just to name a few. So what came from this research is not necessarily a biography. It is pattern recognition of how these leaders were able to have the mindset that saw them achieve what they did, most of which was during the Great Depression. And these were people that battled some of the harshest economic conditions that we have seen throughout history. When jobs felt scarce, when wealth felt unattainable, when confidence felt like it was collapsing. These were people who were able to succeed when all of the odds seemed to be stacked against them. And the mindset that they were able to have through their success links nicely to a concept that came about later in psychology called goal expectancy theory. And this essentially talks to the idea that specific challenging goals lead to higher performance than vague or easy goals when people are committed to them. And what we now know about our brain's reticular activating system, which is why I talk so much about vision boarding on this channel as well, is that when your brain is focused on a particular goal, it means that you are helping it to filter out all of that other information that is no longer as relevant. It means that you are able to help it focus in on the things that you want to prioritize the most. Which leads nicely into point number two, and that is to have a burning desire. This was something that was a really strong theme through the book Think and Grow Rich. In the book, Hill proposes that riches begin with a burning desire. He says, when a man really desires a thing so deeply that he is willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel in order to get it, he is sure to win. So this is essentially knowing what you want and having the desire, the commitment to stick to that thing, to be persistent in that thing until you actually realize it. He says, there is a difference between wishing for a thing and being ready to receive it. No one is ready for a thing until he believes he can acquire it. And this idea of a burning desire, I feel links nicely into the more modern concept of expectancy theory in psychology, which says that motivation is made up of three key elements. First, that is expectancy. That is, if I put in effort, will I perform well? The second is instrumentality. That is, if I perform well, will I get the outcome? And the third is balance. That is, do I actually value the outcome? So Hill's idea of a burning desire is essentially having a burning desire that is emotionally charged, that you have this internal commitment to, and that you feel so strongly about that it is able to override any sense of fear or doubt or fatigue that is likely to set in through that process. But what I like about the expectancy theory is that it sharpens this idea further. So, the idea of a burning desire to me is almost the balance element. It's wanting something that badly that you are committed to it. But what I like about the expectancy theory and the elements of expectancy and instrumentality is that it also focuses really strongly on the effort that you need to put in to achieve that thing, which is still a focus in Think and Grow Rich. It isn't all about just wishing for the thing, it's actually also about taking action. But the expectancy theory does also remind us about the importance of your performance through that as well. And this, I feel, is the real differentiating factor between the successful versus the unsuccessful. It's that motivation that they have throughout things that potentially feel like a setback. It's that they understand that they have the power to shape those outcomes and they're willing to put in that effort despite what they're potentially experiencing. Whereas the people that don't necessarily succeed in the spaces that they would like to are the people that likely reached a stage where they may not have been seeing the results that they wanted to see, and because of that, disengaged from having that particular goal, disengaged from what was supposedly their burning desire, instead of actually being persistent in that thing. Which highlights to us that abundance isn't just about wanting something really badly. It is about really believing that your efforts are going to have a return on investment. Point number 3 is the power of abundance self-talk. The idea of auto-suggestions or self-suggestions was something that was really highlighted in the book Think and Grow Rich. And since then, in psychology, this has been described as priming or self-talk or cognitive rehearsal. And this helps to focus your mind. It primes your brain for the activities that you want to engage in, for the success that you want to achieve. It gets you ready in a mental state to be able to achieve those things. But a really important element of the idea of Think and Grow Rich is also this aspect of faith. It's actually believing what it is that you are saying, what it is that you desire. And what he says in the book is riches begin in the form of a thought. The amount is limited only by the person in whose mind the thought is put into motion. Faith removes limitations. But simply speaking your burning desires out loud isn't enough. You need to actually also vividly imagine what that thing is, which is why the combination of auto-suggestions and self-talk paired with visualization can be so powerful. It adds to the all-encompassing mental rehearsal, the cognitive rehearsal that you are engaging your brain in so that it is ready for those opportunities. And remember, this isn't about seemingly toxic positivity. This is about using cognitive and behavioral tools to position your mind to have certain behaviors and to be able to respond with this sense of familiarity as opposed to fear. Because what you repeatedly tell yourself, what you repeatedly experience, then becomes your default behavior. It becomes how you actually show up, especially when you're under pressure. My point number 4 for your abundance mindset advantage is to remember that knowledge is only potential power. Hill highlights in Think and Grow Rich that wishing alone is simply not enough. He says, wishing will not bring riches, but desiring wishes with a state of mind that becomes an obsession, and then planning definite ways and means to acquire riches and backing those plans with persistence, which does not recognize failure, will bring riches. And what I wanted to highlight as a part of this is that Hill really advocates for specialized knowledge. He talks about universities teaching knowledge, but not actually teaching enough of how to organize that knowledge. He says, knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and intelligently directed through practical plans of action. So remember that your knowledge only becomes powerful when it is organized into action. Now let's talk about some practical ways that you can put your abundance mindset into action. How do you implement an abundance mindset into your everyday routine? Here are just some ideas of how you could potentially do this. You could practice journaling, particularly using a future self-scripting technique. This is when you are acting as if you are fully embodying what it feels like to have already achieved that thing. You might do this like I do, for example, by incorporating this into your morning pages routine, which is something that I have talked about on this channel before and my absolute favorite method of journaling, and a place where I feel that you can put all of these different techniques that are often suggested when it comes to journaling into one really all-encompassing space. Something else that you can implement into your everyday routine is to practice gratitude in advance. This is also something that I've recently spoke about on this channel, and the power that gratitude practice plays in helping you to achieve your success to begin with. The idea of being grateful as what actually underpins and potentially precedes your success. You might also like to set specific and vividly detailed goals, or as I am now trying to explore more of, the idea of tiny experiments as another potential system that could replace traditional goals. You can consider creating a vision board and having this be a part of your everyday process. So I've talked about vision boarding a lot on this channel recently because it contributes to that mental rehearsal, that visualization, that priming of your brain for those opportunities. You might also find yourself an abundance mindset playlist on Spotify, some affirmations related to an abundance mindset that you know that even if you don't listen to daily, it is something that you can fall back on in those times where you feel that pressure and that stress getting the best of you, and you can just pop that on in the background. You don't need to even say it yourself. You know that you have those positive words, those abundant mindset orientated words ready to go for you. Finally, something else that you can do is to put your goals into ChatGPT and ask it to create a script for you relating to those goals so that you can actually read those out yourself as part of daily affirmations or weekly affirmations, however you want to integrate that into your routine. Or something else that you could do as well is to take the script that ChatGPT created for you and to record that yourself as, say, a voice memo, and just have that ready to play as a part of your everyday routine without you having to necessarily say it out loud yourself. So remember that an abundance mindset isn't just about optimism. It is about clarity, composure, and deliberate action. Thanks so much. Subscribe for more like this, and I'll see you in the next episode.